Next company on stage, PICS, is the LinkedIn to be of the supply chain. They are engaged with Fortune 500 clients. They are serving them in most verticals on all continents, and they are ambitioning to be the next unicorn. Rhys, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Florence, for your kind words. Also, your input and feedback over the last few days and the last week, that's been really helpful. We're really proud to be here today and to be associated with PwC as a hugely valuable partner to us. Today, I'm going to talk about partnerships and connections because they very much are the drivers behind our business at PICS. We exist, like the previous team, because of the global outsourcing trend, which has proven to be very, very effective, but there are many, many risks. Relying on other companies to deliver products and services can have an impact on quality, on safety, on reputation, and these in turn impact on customer satisfaction, brand reputation, and of course the bottom line. There are many case studies in sectors where we work, from oil and gas to consumer electronics, that show that you can outsource tasks and processes, but you can't actually outsource the associated risks. This is absolutely on the CEO agenda, going back to Laurent's earlier point. The sustainability of a business now is inextricably linked to its supply chain. It's no longer sufficient just to report on your own company's performance. You need to report on your entire supply chain as well. We're a SaaS company. We partner with clients that need to better control these risks. They may be companies with global supply chains. They may have large populations of on-site contractors. We have clients that operate franchises. I think it's fair to say that what they all have in common is that they don't have the right data, or they don't have enough data. In some cases, they don't have any data to enable them to make the right decisions. Okay. So we deliver live compliance data from a cloud-based platform to support key decision-making. We bring these companies together into a consortium marketplace, which enables them to be recognized and rewarded for performance and compliance. In practical terms, this means that we engage suppliers, we explain to them exactly what their clients want. We report back to the client on precisely what their capabilities are, who are these companies, and what exactly can they do. The service part of our SaaS business is where we check data, we check policies, insurance is a big area for us, and we present all of the outcomes to the client on a live platform. And now they can actually make informed decisions. That usually means reducing exposure to non-compliant companies and maximizing their use of compliant companies. So over time, reducing their exposure to those that are not demonstrating compliance. And it's a cycle. This is a rolling cycle, so performance is constantly reviewed within the platform. Okay, the NASCAR slide. We have 250 enterprise clients right now. We have over 50,000 suppliers in the platform. Collectively, that's 250,000 relationships between clients and suppliers that we manage. We work in many, many verticals. As you can see, it's a marketplace. Our business model monetizes both parties. So the clients on our platform have an annual license fee, and the suppliers have an annual membership fee that's driven by the number of connections that they actually have. It works very well in that over 90% of the suppliers on our platform renew every year. This means that we've got a very low attrition rate, but also that loyalty, that subscription model means that we can very accurately forecast the revenues coming into our business. Okay, we're going to run through a couple of case studies of those clients in a little more detail. Melbourne Metro, owned by MTR in Hong Kong, is a classic case study of a company that just had far too many suppliers. Rationalization, very, very high on the CPO's agenda. They realized that just keeping companies on their financial platform was very, very expensive in terms of invoicing and comms throughout the year. They also had a very long tail of low spend suppliers, and they would equate that to low levels of compliance, because where the spend levels are low, invariably these are companies that don't necessarily understand your business and perhaps don't put their best teams onto certain projects. They also realized after a year of working with us that outsourcing the heavy lift of gathering documents, conducting desktop audits and the like, enabled their procurement team to focus on managing and making decisions, and not having a whole team of people that were doing that quite administrative, bureaucratic role. And that led to savings of, I believe, about $800,000 into the business in year one. Huntsman was one of our first clients in the southwest of the US. We now work with Huntsman around the world. They had a very, very high accident rate amongst the contractors that perform the majority of higher risk work. We identified these companies, supported them, worked to close their gaps. That's a big differentiator within our business. We don't just say they're non-compliant, you're stuck with it. We actually advise them, support them, and endeavor to get them to a compliant status. The client, once it had this data, which was far more sophisticated than the legacy system, was able to increase its use of those green suppliers, those that were meeting all of its expectations, reduce and over time remove its exposure to the higher risk companies, and its accident incident rate came down quite dramatically. We support Cemex in the US, the UK, in Germany, and from this week in Poland. They're a client that had legacy processes, but they didn't have a viable delivery partner. They didn't have a platform that was enabling them to use that. We built a full 360 process whereby they assess supplier performance on demand at their facilities, and they gather feedback from those suppliers. They're now making much more informed decisions with the confidence of this data that's been generated by the field. This is groundbreaking in our industry. It's something that we know is a clear differentiator in our space. In 2016, we'll be adding this to all of the clients on our platform. We're also adding smart inductions to this client, whereby the contractors that go to their facilities will now be identified before the jobs. They'll have the e-learning and their tests before they go to site. This is going to save the clients thousands of hours of delivering e-learning and training at the facility when the contractors just need to be there and get on with the job. So I've said all these great things about PICS, and I'm now going to share that we're actually changing. We're rebranding in Q1 of 2016. We've grown quite rapidly, and as we've grown and globalized the business, we've seen how the PICS Auditing brand no longer accurately defines us. PICS stands for Pacific Industrial Contractor Screening. Well, we started in the Pacific. We're now a global organization. We started in heavy industry. We're now working with hotel chains, with facilities management, with banks. We work with many more entities than contractors, franchisees, supply chains, and the like, and we do a lot more than screening. It was also a name that doesn't work well in many of our target markets in developing and emerging regions. The brand, the logo, reflects our shift from historical EHS compliance to sustainability. And as our marketplace grows, the brand, the strapline, it's all there to emphasize that Avetta is the place to build the right connections to grow your business. So we're very excited and motivated by what's going on in our business. We're very excited by Avetta. We know that our partners and our connections are as well. So we're looking forward to next year on Avetta, building the connections that build the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Rhys. Any questions?
Hi, thank you very much for this interesting presentation. Can you spare one or two words about your company? What is the current setup?
In terms of locations, people?
In terms of location, people, yeah.
Okay. Well, Pacific remains the headquarters. Corporate head office is in Irvine, California. We have offices in Houston, in Utah, in Calgary. We've grown rapidly. When I joined the company 4 years ago, I was about the 70th employee. Now we're pushing 300 employees. We have regional hubs in Singapore, in London. We have offices in Perth and a number of other cities, and China, which is a critical office for us in terms of our client supply chain exposure in China. So it's a SaaS model. We are growing rapidly. It's a classic land and expand. We have sales and marketing around the world. To the point made earlier by one of the presenters, the relationships are very, very important with the kinds of clients that we have. That being said, we have a whole raft of centrally managed services whereby we gather data and potentially then disseminate that to clients around the world.
All right, can you tell me something about your competitors and why you're winning against them?
Our points of difference, I mean, the feedback that we get from our client is the resource that we put into supply chain enhancement is significant. We don't just pass the problem back. I think that's one of the big risks with outsourcing is that people outsource problems historically. So we've always worked very closely with our clients, give them guidance, give them support. Lots of the clients don't have the internal resource to put into their supply chain because as companies they've shrunk during the outsourcing trend. So we get a lot of feedback on that. From a technical perspective, our platform is very flexible, it's configured, and it's unique in that when you look at a supplier on the platform as a client, and you see their compliance status, that's against your client's criteria. That's not a generic criteria that we create. So our clients in different verticals might be looking at the same suppliers, but having different results from the system. So that's the technical one, but I think number one would have to be the service package.
I've seen in your one of the cases that it was from 2001. So
Yeah.
the company's been around for quite some time. What is the
That was-
experience?
yeah.
How much is it a services company versus a product?
We've evolved into a SaaS company. We were speaking with some of the visitors earlier, and I think historically the S on the end of SaaS was probably the larger of the two S's. As we've grown, as we've brought critical mass and the need to have more economies, more efficiency, then we are now in that classic SaaS environment. Because to actually be efficient and to effectively monetize the model that we have, we need the software to perform more and more tasks, but also have that human level of verification as well where required.
So one last, what's the growth rate then? When you're in SaaS business, you know there are pretty strict KPIs according which SaaS companies are being measured.
Yeah.
We're talking about expansion and the success and growth factors. So like revenue-wise, how much did you grow within a year of being in SaaS business?
We've averaged 40% growth in the last 5 years. That's
Per year,
accelerated
or
since...
CAGR or CAGR?
Yeah, yeah. And that's accelerated dramatically since the investments we made in globalizing the business.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Final question. How many suppliers do you have in your network today?
We're just over 50,000 suppliers, and at the current growth rates, looking at the number of connections, which is another KPI for us, that's currently at 250,000. We're forecast to get to 1 million connections in 2018.
Great. Congratulations on the new logo too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rhys.
Thank you.